3 games, 3 goals, 3 at the back and 3 in attack. I mean, we got 3 on our shirt for God's sake, and most importantly, we got them 3 points still. So for me, like 3 is looking like a bit of a magic number for us so far. And I guess the most exciting thing is Graham Potter now starting to get a bit of an idea on how to use this talented and excellent squad. In today's video, has Graham Potter finally figured out how to use his team? Are we now seeing the real Kai Havertz? We have to talk about Conor Gallagher's second half performance, and of course, Enzo Fernandez's passing masterclass against Leicester City. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope you guys enjoy the series. Hit that like button, of course, and share your thoughts and opinions below without wasting any more time. So let's start with things, and let's talk Graham Potter, because has Potter, after 3 games, finally figured out how to take advantage of this talented team? It does seem like things are slowly starting to align for Potter, and I do think that defeat to Spurs was the wake-up call that he needed and we were all waiting for him to have to start to turn things around. For me, he's done the things that all of us have been hoping to see right now. Let's make our game simpler. Let's bring back the back 3, and let's focus on breaking teams down on the counter-attack. For me, there is a beauty behind simplicity. Now, I'm going to explain exactly what I mean by this statement. I think in hindsight and over some time, we were forcing this process in a bit. Yes, we've signed some brilliant players that are going to push us forwards over the next few seasons, but to expect these guys to come in instantly and start to get this complex football working was never realistically going to happen. To play that type of telepathic football, that requires working on details like what's the most optimum way for a team like this to be defending off the ball? What's the best pressing structures to use? Things like player understanding between each other. I mean, they have to play a consecutive amount of games and spend a lot of time in the training ground as well too to familiarize themselves with each other's game. I'm sure you guys can add to the list, but what I'm communicating is it was way too complex and difficult and demanding in this particular context. And now Potter has finally reverted away from a football style he was trying to integrate during the start of January. And this new system, this new back 3, this simpler system, it draws from the strengths this team already has. And this team is great defensively. We're up there when it comes to best defensive stats in the league. We have very good proactive style defenders who are very intelligent in knowing when to leave their lines to engage higher up the field. Potter is relying upon simplistic foundations, but he's also sprinkling in a few avenues for tactical growth. What do I mean by that? Well, let's look at how we ended the game against Leicester yesterday. Now, this is the football that Potter is synonymous with. He's known for changing formations on the fly. We saw this in the second half against Leicester City, where he introduced a 3-5-2, and we ended the game using a 4-3-3. And these are examples of the tactical battles that Potter is having against the opposition manager, and that's why he relies upon this type of management. We've seen the benefits from his previous team in Brighton. It's no surprise why they've had an incredible start to this season, and it's because once the Brighton team and players got more familiar with this way of playing due to the repetition, the drills, and more time understanding the details, they really benefited from that, and they became a team that was tactically incredibly hard to beat, and the bonus was the system allowed their players to shine on an individual level. That is a very, very hard balance to find, and that's why he has the respect of some of the best managers in the world. But then it goes back to something I've been saying throughout the entirety of last month. Graham Potter, control your controllables. For Graham Potter to really introduce his tactical style and way of playing just seems way too demanding, considering that we signed literally a whole new team in January. Players have just returned back. There's been no time for them to work on these drills in the training ground, and reports have even said that it's even harder for Potter to work on these ideas due to the size of the squad at this point in time. Control your controllables. Be selective for when you introduce this way of playing. It's all about timing. It makes more sense to use pre-season as the opportunity to really work even more on your original ideas. But it goes back to what I've been saying about there being beauty in simplicity. By dropping our lines, by making the team more defensively compact, by introducing this mid-block structure, the lines between our defense, midfield, attack, those distances are very short and close, and that makes the team very compact as an entire unit when it comes to defending off the ball. And this foundation is sick because when you have proactive style defenders, guys like Cucurella, guys like Koulibaly, Fofana, Badiashile, These guys know when to leave their line to help engage your position further up the field, which has a net benefit of giving us more protection in midfield. And on top of this, when you're simplifying how we attack and create by making us more transitional based, by us counter-attacking instead. Do you guys know what the real benefit of this is? You're creating a foundation for these guys to slowly get more familiar with each other's game. As I was saying before, we've had too many cooks in the kitchen. Like, you can't have 4 new attacking players that have never played together. You're putting them in the team and you're hoping that something happens just like that. There's a reason why we haven't been sustainable in terms of how we play over 90 minutes. And let's not forget how our creativity plummeted over these past few games. Going back to basics is allowing for this team to get the foundations to start to learn how each other plays even more. That is the beauty behind the simplicity. And this way, when the foundations are set in stone, Potter has some flexibility at least to slowly sprinkle in some of his real tactical ideas to get us ready for next season. So it's all about baby steps, but I think right now we're finally seeing the real Graham Potter, and it's coming at the perfect time. So let's move on to the second thing we've learned. And are we finally seeing the unlocked version of Kai Havertz? Or is this typical March Madness Kai? Because we know second half of every season, Havertz has like a great run of form, and after that, it goes back to nothing again. Now, one of the main reasons behind this upshift in Kai's performances is the fact that he is playing on the right hand side of a front 3 instead of playing up front like he typically has this whole season. So right now, let's break down Kai's game in greater statistical detail. I'm going to use sites like WhoScored, SofaScore, and a few others so we can get a deeper examination behind his game. And to start with things, WhoScored gave him a match rating of around 8.1, which makes him the highest one statistically in yesterday's game. And one stat that stands out is the amount of shots that Havertz took in that game yesterday. As we can see, 5 shots, 2 on target, 2 off target, and 1 was blocked. And this made me think about Kai's performance against Dortmund in that 2-0 win. So using WhoScored again, we can see that Kai also recorded 5 shots in that game as well too. 1 hit the woodwork, of course, 4 were off target and only 1 was on target. So in 2 games against Leicester City and Dortmund, Kai's recorded 10 shots. But prior to those 2 games, it took Kai 7 games to get 9 shots on goal, and it took him 8 games to reach 11. That is crazy. That it's taken him that many games to hit the same amount of shots that he's recorded in these past 2 games. And for me, this upshift on efforts on goal naturally comes from the fact that he's playing in a more suited and catered role that suits the entirety of his game. So now going back to SofaScore, as we can see, this is the average position of the players in yesterday's game. Kai Havertz is playing a bit more forward compared to his other teammates, but there is some context behind this. For example, in the first half, he played more on the right hand side. In the second half, he played in the front 2 alongside Mudryk, and for the final 50 minutes, he played up front by himself in the front 3. Now, that's one of the benefits from having multifunctional players, because they allow for you to seamlessly shift things tactically in game. And I think the heat maps reveal everything we need to know about the areas in which Kai Havertz is affecting the game and making things happen for us. Look at how red these zones are on the right hand side. Look how much deeper Kai is as well too. There's times when he's receiving behind the halfway line from the defenders and from the wing backs as well. And I feel like the team is receiving many benefits now from a Kai Havertz that's more involved in games and affecting games from deeper positions. For example, going back to that Dortmund game again, Havertz recorded 10 progressive passes. He has never reached that figure at all throughout the entirety of his career and hasn't come close to reaching that figure since signing for us. One thing I've really criticised for a long time is the fact that I felt like as a team, we've never taken advantage of Havertz's passing ability, because this guy has incredible weight in his passes. He has super technique, and he demonstrated this so often whilst he was playing at Leverkusen. And I think yesterday we saw a prime example of this when he played a beautiful lofted pass over the top to find Joao Felix, and the weight of that, the way it floated, made it so easy for Felix to take a first touch on goal and of course go for that clipped effort. The reason why I think Kai is better playing in a deeper position is that he doesn't have the footwork in tight areas to get past 1 or 2 men. I feel like the game has been too compact for him over the past few seasons actually, and playing deeper gives him more freedom, more spaces. And on that right hand side, he is a reference point that is holding the ball up, that's allowing the wing backs to boom forward and make those overlapping runs. And Kai is in deeper areas. His passes release his teammates. He's finding runners in behind. He's pushing us up the field. And most importantly, it allows his German goal skills to come out. And when I say that, that's this guy's anticipation and intelligence of his movement in behind. Those late arrivals he makes inside the box. Kai has great athleticism, which allows him to cover distances quickly, where he can challenge for aerials inside the box, take shots outside the box, and of course, take first-time shots on goal as well too, getting on the end of moves. And in a way, it makes me understand why Lampard wanted to use Kai on the right-hand side of a midfield 3, because I feel like his game makes a lot more sense there, being a bit more withdrawn away from goal, whilst influencing the game on the ball as well. And I think you see this in terms of the duels that Kai Havertz contests for and the possession he wins back for the team. For me, I think we're seeing a Havertz that I've been waiting to see for a very long time. I know it's a very small sample size, but we're seeing little details that are showing very interesting developments for how Kai's season can continue to go on. So that's the first thing we've learned. Now we have to move on, and we have to discuss our man of the match in yesterday's game, and that was pass master Enzo Fernandez. And I have to say, I don't think I've seen a Chelsea player have this much fun moving the ball and passing the ball, probably since guys like Cesc Fabregas and probably even David Luiz. I think Enzo attempted 5 to 6 Trivela passes, and the Trivela pass is the outside the boot pass. And when I'm seeing Enzo Fernandez playing his trademark passes for fun multiple times in a game, that tells me that this guy is loving his game right now. And Enzo's performance yesterday is exactly why I've been so hyped, excited and desperate for us to secure him on a permanent deal, because for me, this is the midfield player this team has needed for the past 5 years. Now let's break down Enzo's game in greater detail, and as we can see here, look at the heat map from Enzo. I mean, the guy was absolutely marshalling the central areas of midfield. He's giving the team an incredible platform to build with due to his passing range and the accuracy, vision and creativity those passes come with. But for me, Enzo produces great playmaking alongside very strong defending. You can see why when this guy was introduced in the Argentina team in the World Cup, his introduction helped Argentina win a lot more midfield bouts. That's what Enzo does. He's a warrior on the field as well too. As we can see, 13 ground duels contested, 7-1. No aerials, of course, we have the defenders for that. And he got 4 tackles, but was dribbled past a few times, which is natural for a player like Enzo. But now, I want to use FB Ref so we can get an idea behind how Enzo's Premier League season has been going so far. And currently, considering he's playing a lot more defensively in the midfield too, he's showing a lot of incredible statistics already. For example, look at the passes played in terms of pass completion, in terms of progressive passes made. That is one of the most fascinating stats with Enzo right now. You can look at things in even greater detail, but going down to his passing stats. But this for me is why we had to sign this guy at all costs. Wow, I mean, the total distance tells you that this guy is playing short passes, medium passes and long passes. He's not playing easy safe balls. You can see the accuracy in which he plays with. For example, his medium range passes are his most accurate ones, as well as his long passes. Surprisingly, his short passes, of course, are a lot less accurate, but that sums up what I'm saying. He isn't playing simple, easy passes. His passes affect the game, they kickstart moves, and he's so important for us in that second phase, especially when it comes to the kickstarting of moves. But let's scroll down just a little bit more, and let's look at 2 stats that are standing out a lot. Passes into the final thirds and progressive passes. In terms of his passes in the final thirds, 8.78 per game. That makes him statistically the best ranked player in the Premier League at doing this. And he's also the best ranked in the Premier League in terms of playing progressive passes. And these are the passes that move your team up the field to create shots against your opponents. And it's in the final third where Enzo's creativity, vision, and passing technique really shine. And I think that was demonstrated with the assist he made for Kai Havertz. I mean, that scoop ball over the top demonstrated so much skill, and to have the panache at the end to execute that move. To spot the on-running run of Kai Havertz, played a pass weighted so perfectly that Kai could hit that ball first time with a little chip over the top. This is the type of vision I've been needing to see. How often have we seen runners inside the box completely getting missed, not being able to get found out because of our passing game was too horizontal and too focused on being on the ground. His assist yesterday would have made Cesc weep, but He was unlucky not to record 2 assists in that game, with Mudryk's goal being offside, but wow, just the way he made that move. Like, this guy's body positioning was on one side, little like chop inside to the left, completely fooling the Leicester players around him, because he saw where Mudryk was, and he had the skill again with another Trivela pass to hit that first time in Mudryk's path, and that pass just meant that Mudryk only had to focus on where he was going to place that shot. This is the transformational impact that I've been talking about for a long time when it does come to Enzo Fernandez. And let's not forget another spectacular pass which kick-started the move that led to the 3rd goal, because without that pass from Enzo, that 3rd goal never happens. And it's like, how often have we created this danger when it comes to counter-attacking, yet we don't have the passing range and technique from players behind us to find these runners in behind. This is why Enzo was desperately needed, because he is the guy that makes sense of how we attack as a team. And for me, that's what the best passers do, right? You know, they create that tempo. They help speed up our game when it has to be sped up, and they slow it down when it has to be slowed down. His passing makes his teams more purposeful and makes them better, because now players are getting found in dangerous positions. Now they can attempt to make more runs knowing that they are going to be found, and those efforts aren't going to go to waste. And this is the creativity from deeper that has desperately been needed for a very long time, and Enzo proved in yesterday's game that this is just a taster of more brilliance to come from him. So right now, let's move on to the 3rd thing we learned, and for the final thing we've learned, and I have to discuss the unsung hero in yesterday's game, and that was the second half performance from Conor Gallagher. Graham Potter himself said that when he brought Conor on, this was purely tactics. This was a tactical decision. He had to take Joao Felix off because Conor Gallagher's game was needed in our midfield. And for me, that tells me everything I need to know about the faith and trust that Potter has in Gallagher's game, and I think that Conor has responded superbly well. Conor came on, he played on the right hand side of a midfield 3, and you know what? I've always kind of seen Conor as like a Nico Barella style midfield player, where these guys are very strong defensively, they're very strong offensively, and they do create for their teammates with their passing as well too. Like, if Conor wanted to model his game on a player, he would have to look at Nico Barella, because I think these guys are quite similar. But regardless, we're on the sofa score, and instantly looking at that heat map in the game yesterday, you can see exactly where Conor had to help affect the game, and our game plan was to attack down that right hand side. Look at the red hot zones on the right hand side. Conor is so comfortable at making those diagonal runs, at receiving the ball out wide, and this allows for the wing backs to get forward. This helps us create overloads in the wide areas. And his performance yesterday was tenacious. For me, he looked very strong. Like, Leicester City players were actually bouncing off him. His tackles were leading to goal creating moments, and we can't forget what he was doing off the ball with that goal line clearance that was made in the second half too. Looking at the details behind this game, he played 1 key pass, he was accurate with his passes, he had a decent amount of touches in the game, but it was his defensive aptitudes. I mean, what, 7 ground duels made and 6 won. Wow, this guy's a terrier in our midfield, and we're seeing what he's doing in terms of blocked shots, in terms of interceptions, the tackles, the clearances. I mean, he gives you very good protection in front of your defense, alongside guys like Enzo and Conor as well too. Gallagher played a key part when he was introduced, because he was the one that allowed Enzo to actually move up a bit higher, and he allowed our tactics to work by overloading that right hand side. Like, is it any surprise that Fayez got red carded against us, because we had so much pressure down the right hand side. Now, using who scored, I want to compare Joao Felix and Conor Gallagher. In the first half, this is how Felix played. He actually recorded a 5.7 match rating, and of course that came from the error from him that led to Leicester's equaliser, and of course he hit the post as well too. In terms of his general influence throughout the game, it didn't really exist as much, and I think there was one damning stat from that first half, and that was in dribbles. As we can see, we made 3 dribbles in that entire game. Of course, it only came from the right hand side. Felix, who's in the team for those progressive carries and his 1v1 ability, wasn't doing much, and a part of me kind of feels like after getting a brutal knock like during the start of the game from Pereira, maybe he was in his head a little bit and he got a bit more nervous. Maybe that explains that sloppy mistake for the equaliser as well too. Felix could have got a goal in that first half. Of course, his effort was offside from that pass from Ruben, and he hit the post from that counter-attacking move from the Kai Havertz pass. But in terms of his general game and what he was doing on the ball, there wasn't much there really. I mean, he had like, what, 22 touches of the ball against Leicester. In terms of passes, they were accurate, but they only played 15. And most of these passes were safe passes, not really causing too much damage or danger, to be fair. So anyway, let's now compare the second half performance from Conor Gallagher. Now, using who scored, a quick one, but not a surprise that Havertz moving up front, his rating does come down a bit. But let's look at Gallagher's game in more detail. And instantly, things like his touches nearly double what Joao Felix was doing on the left-hand side. But 41 touches, positive use of possession. He played around 21 passes. One key pass came from that. In terms of the dribbles that he produced, he attempted 3. He was brave on the ball. He was looking to carry us up the field. And Conor had a 100% dribble success rate against Leicester. But of course, in terms of the tackles, the success rate behind that 100%, interceptions, everything was strong. And that tenacity was desperately needed in our midfield to help win that midfield battle against Leicester City. Because in that first half, which I'm discussing, they were using so much of their dribbling ability to get past us as a team. Because as I said in that first half, Leicester created 11 dribbles against us. They used their dribbling ability to great effect. Maddison dropping deeper to receive from their centre-backs to help push Leicester forward. During that great 10-minute spell they had, in which they got the equaliser, they created a lot of danger against us. And it was the right tactical move to take off someone that wasn't as influential and someone that wasn't doing anything off the ball defensively as well too. To come off, to replace him for a midfield player, to overload Leicester in midfield and win that battle. And that's what Conor Gallagher did. Sometimes I kind of feel like he doesn't get enough credit. And I think from the player who started this season, we can't forget that terrible penalty during pre-season. The start of the season where he lacked confidence and didn't look authoritative on the field. He wasn't playing his natural game. He has come a long way. This has been like a great educational year for Conor. And now he's really demonstrating his use for the team and how he can impact things for us, because this isn't the first game that Gallagher has impacted during the second half of the season. So there you have it, my friends. That is the end for 4 things we learned against Leicester City. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope you guys are enjoying the series. And if you want to see more, hit that like button and comment below. I'm in EFC. This is BlueLionsTV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.